Hello there, gentle heart. Tonight, let's take a quiet walk into the jungle. Not the wild kind. Not the noisy kind. But the kind that teaches you things. Things about yourself. This isn't just a bedtime story. It's a story about Eli. A baby elephant with big sparkling eyes. A very curious heart. And one of the most important lessons of all to learn. How to feel your feelings. Without letting them carry you away. This is a story about the power of not reacting. About what happens when you pause instead of shout. Breathe instead of panic. And listen instead of push things down. Eli learns what to do when his tummy swirls. When his chest feels tight. When the giggles hurt. Or when the sadness stays longer than he wants it to. He learns how to name his emotions. How to count to 5. How to breathe slowly. How to wait before choosing what to say. And how to stay soft. Without losing his strength. And maybe, as Eli finds his way, you'll discover something too. A small quiet space inside you. That knows how to carry feelings. Without letting them be the boss of you. So before we begin, what time is it where you are right now? And if you'd like to share in the comments, what feeling or moment is making you want to react today? Something someone said. Something you felt but couldn't explain. It's okay to name it. You're not alone. If stories like this help you breathe easier, or feel a little stronger in your quiet ways, we'd love for you to gently subscribe. Click the bell if you'd like to come back to this soft space again. And share it with someone else, who may need a calm place to land tonight. Now, dim the lights. Rest your hands. Let the world slow down. Just for a little while. Take a soft breath in. And an even softer breath out. There you go. Let's begin our journey. With Eli the elephant. A jungle full of feelings. And the quiet discovery. That real strength starts when you choose not to react. Once upon a time, in a quiet corner of the glowing jungle, under leaves that shimmered like morning dew, lived a baby elephant named Eli. Eli was small for an elephant. Not too small, just a little smaller than the others. He had big, round, sparkling eyes. A gentle heart. And the softest feet in the entire jungle. But most of all, Eli had a trunk. A trunk he had never used to trumpet. You see, every young elephant has a special day. A trumpet day. The day they try their first real toot. A big, proud sound from their trunk. A sound that echoes through the jungle and makes the trees dance. Eli had dreamed about his trumpet day for weeks. He'd practiced in secret behind the mango bushes. Imagining the sound would be bold and beautiful. Like the older elephants. Like thunder in the sky. But every time he tried, squeak, came a sound like a sleepy mouse hiccuping. Eli's eyes widened. That couldn't be it. He looked at his trunk, puzzled. He puffed his cheeks. He tried again. PPRMM. Squee. It happened again. Tiny. Squeaky. Soft. His ears twitched. His tummy made a funny feeling. A churning. A swirling. Like little butterflies inside, but not the happy kind. The kind that twist around when you want to cry. That's when the frog started laughing. At first, it was just one. Then two. Then the monkeys up above joined in. One pointed. Another wiggled their toes in the air, rolling with laughter. Did you hear that? A frog giggled. Was that a trumpet or a teacup sneeze? Eli felt his legs go stiff. His trunk drooped. And the churning in his tummy started to grow louder. It wasn't a sound, but a feeling. Like a big storm was building inside. But no one could see it. He wanted to shout. Or stomp. Or run into the tallest grass and never come out. Then, he remembered something Mama Elephant once told him. She'd said it in her soft, warm voice one evening when the stars were blinking. When the storm swirls in your belly, don't let it roar. Count to 5. Breathe slow. And give your feeling a name. That's how we stay strong, even when it hurts. Eli didn't fully understand what it meant. But right now, standing in front of the laughing frogs, it was all he had. So he closed his eyes, took a tiny breath, and whispered to himself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, he said quietly, I feel embarrassed. His voice was so soft, it floated away like a leaf. But something inside him shifted. The storm didn't go away. But it didn't grow bigger either. It just sat there, listening. The frogs didn't stop giggling. The monkeys still chuckled in the trees. But Eli stayed. He didn't stomp. He didn't run. He felt the swirl. Named it. And stood with it. Then, something else bubbled up inside him. A smaller feeling. A different one. I don't like it, Eli whispered aloud. His ears were warm. And he wasn't even sure who he was talking to. Maybe himself. Maybe the trees. I don't like it when they laugh at me. It makes my tummy hurt. And when he said that, a little tear rolled down his cheek. Just one. Not loud. Not wild. Just soft. Like the sound he made. A tiny, quiet tear. He didn't wipe it away. He let it roll. Somewhere nearby, a little beetle stopped crawling and watched. A butterfly rested gently on a leaf near his trunk. The wind hushed for just a moment. It was as if the whole jungle was listening. And then, out of nowhere. Whomp! A mango landed with a plop next to Eli's foot. He looked up. A monkey had dropped it from the tree by accident. And now it was stuck on a rock. Splattered like a pancake. The monkey blinked. Eli blinked. And then, they both laughed. Just a little. Not because the teasing was funny. But because mango splats always are. Another monkey slipped while trying to pick up the seed. He landed on his bottom, legs flailing. A frog fell backward into a puddle. Splish. The laughter changed. Not mean. Not sharp. Just silly. For a moment, Eli forgot about the trumpet. He giggled softly. His trunk curling like a question mark. But then the wind carried a quiet voice. Hey Eli, said a tiny voice. It was the smallest frog, the one with crooked toes. That was a very gentle trumpet. Like a whisper cloud. Can you do it again? Eli looked unsure. But something inside said. Maybe. He lifted his trunk. Took a breath. And let out his sound again. Squee-ee. The frog sat still. The monkey with mango on his head clapped. It's kind of cute, said the butterfly, landing on his toe. Eli smiled. A small, real smile. He still felt a little shy. He still felt a little swirl in his tummy. But now, he knew what it was called. He could hold it. He could name it. That night, as the stars blinked above the sleeping jungle, Eli curled beside Mama Elephant under the silver leaves. She wrapped her trunk around him and asked. So, how was Trumpet Day? Eli thought for a long moment. Then he said. It didn't sound like the others. It was soft. They laughed. I felt embarrassed. And a little sad. But also, I think I like the sound I make. It's mine. Mama smiled with her whole face. She didn't try to fix anything. She didn't say the other kids were wrong. She just pulled him close and whispered. Even soft trumpets can echo in the heart, my love. Eli closed his eyes. The feelings were still there. Like warm raindrops inside. But they didn't scare him anymore. He knew their names. He knew they came and went. And he knew that being true was stronger than being loud. He fell asleep with a soft smile. The kind that only comes when you've been brave. Without roaring. And far off, in the branches of the tallest tree, a sleepy monkey whispered to the stars. That Eli. He's got the softest trumpet I ever heard. And the stars. Just maybe. Whispered back. The stars were still twinkling when Eli stirred from sleep. He lay beneath the wide moon leaf, curled up in the softest patch of moss. The air was cool and quiet. Crickets sang in the distance. The jungle was still dreaming. Eli opened his big, round eyes. He blinked slowly and watched as a soft blue light crept into the sky. Night was gently turning into morning. He didn't move yet. Just lay there, watching the sky shift colors. Blue, then lavender, then the faintest brush of gold. A tiny flutter began in his chest. Not from the breeze. Not from the cold. It was the flutter of remembering. Today was the day after Trumpet Day. Yesterday hadn't gone how he hoped. He had wanted to sound proud, strong, and bold. But instead, when he tried to trumpet, he'd let out a tiny, squeaky sound. A sound so soft it made the frogs laugh. A sound that made his cheeks burn and his tummy swirl. And the frogs, they didn't just giggle and move on. They teased. They pointed. They copied his squeak. They called him names like Squeaky. Right there in front of everyone. It had hurt. Not on the outside. But somewhere deeper. This morning, that same flutter was back. That quiet swirl in his chest. Not quite sadness. Not quite fear. Just, a feeling that something hard might happen again. He sighed. Part of him wanted to stay right where he was. Wrapped in moss and quiet. Where no one could laugh or point or tease. But another part of him, the tiny brave part, whispered something different. You don't have to run from a feeling to stand with it. So Eli stood. He stretched his trunk. Wiggled his soft gray toes. And made his way through the trees. Toward the watering hole. That was where the other animals always played in the morning. Where the frogs jumped. Where the monkeys swung. Where the others talked and teased and told stories. And where they teased him yesterday. He walked slowly. Leaves brushed against his legs. The sun peeked through the branches. And still, the flutter stayed in his chest. As he reached the clearing, he heard them. The frogs. Already laughing. Already shouting. Already splashing in the water with muddy feet and loud jokes. Eli took one step forward. Then another. But before he could reach the edge of the pond, one of the frogs saw him. Hey look, the frog shouted. It's Squeaky. The others turned. Some snorted. One puffed his cheeks and squeaked loudly, mimicking Eli's sound from yesterday. A few rolled over in the mud, laughing so hard their feet kicked in the air. Eli froze. His ears drooped. And the flutter in his chest turned into a swirl. That old swirl. The one that felt tight. Hot. Like a balloon blowing up inside. He wanted to shout. He wanted to stomp his feet and say, "Stop laughing. It's not funny. But then he remembered something. Not a rule. Not a lesson. Just a small moment from yesterday. He remembered how he counted to 5. How he said out loud, "I feel embarrassed." And how, for the first time, that swirl had slowed. So this time, he did it again. In his mind, slowly, he counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He closed his eyes for just a second. Then opened them. The frogs were still laughing. Still pointing. Still waiting for him to explode, or stomp, or cry. But Eli didn't do any of that. Instead, he walked forward. One quiet step at a time. He walked right up to the edge of the water. And said in a calm, clear voice, "I don't like it when you laugh at me." The frogs blinked. The laughter stopped. Even the monkey in the tree paused, holding his breath. Eli's voice didn't shake. It didn't roar. But it didn't whisper, either. It was soft. And strong. Then Eli added, quietly, "It hurts. But I know you're just being silly." The frogs looked at each other, confused. One frog tilted his head. "What do you mean?" Eli turned to face them. His big eyes shimmered, but they weren't teary. "I think you're trying to be funny," he said. "Even if it hurts someone else. That's being silly. Not kind." There was a long, quiet moment. The wind rustled the leaves. A dragonfly buzzed past. The smallest frog, the one with the crooked toes, croaked gently. "I guess, we didn't think about that." Then, suddenly, splash. One of the frogs slipped on a lily pad and flopped into the pond, sending a wave of water flying into the air. A second frog tried to catch him, missed, and belly flopped too. Water sprayed across the bank. One splash hit the monkey in the tree, right on the nose. He shrieked and slipped, landing with a plop in a bush below. There was silence for a second. Then everyone burst into laughter. But this time, not the sharp kind. Not the kind that stings. It was the warm kind. The bubbling, funny, silly, everyone is laughing kind. Eli laughed, too. A soft giggle that started in his belly. And rose up like sunshine. The smallest frog swam over to him and said, "You're kind of cool, Eli. You didn't yell. You just talked." Eli smiled, just a little. "I wanted to yell," he admitted. "But I didn't have to." The frog nodded. "Sometimes I get mad when people laugh at my toes," he added, holding up his crooked feet. Eli looked at them. "They're a little funny," he said with a smirk. The frog gasped in pretend shock. Then they both burst into giggles. Not mean. Just real. They spent the rest of the morning floating leaf boats down the stream. Making up silly names for them. Captain Mudtail. Sir Hopsalot. The mighty Squeak Ship. No one laughed at Eli's sound anymore. They laughed with him. And even more importantly, Eli didn't laugh to hide his feelings. He had spoken them. And still felt strong. That night, the stars returned. They peeked through the leaves. And blinked gently down on the quiet jungle. Eli curled up once more beneath the moonleaf. Mama Elephant wrapped her trunk softly around him. "You went back," she said. Eli nodded against her side. "They teased me again. And it hurt. But I told them. I said it out loud. And then. It didn't hurt as much." Mama kissed the top of his head. "You didn't try to hide your feelings," she whispered. "You owned them. And that's real strength." Eli smiled sleepily. His tummy felt calm. No flutter. No swirl. Just a quiet, peaceful space. The stars blinked once more. And far away, a tiny frog whispered to his lily pad. That little elephant. He's not just soft. He's strong. And the stars, just maybe, whispered back. The jungle was still. A sleepy hush had settled over the trees. Like a blanket of whispers. The moon was round and quiet in the sky, casting soft silver light on the treetops. Crickets chirped gently. Leaves rustled with the slow breath of night. And beneath a tall fig tree, Eli the baby elephant sat awake. His big sparkling eyes blinked at the stars. He wasn't sure why he couldn't sleep. He had told the frogs how he felt yesterday. He had stood up without shouting. He had laughed with them by the water. And yet, something inside still swirled. Not a storm. Not a wave. Just a question. Why did it hurt so much, when they laughed? He didn't want to feel so upset every time something went wrong. He wanted to be calm like Mama Elephant. Like the river. Like the stars. So tonight, he tiptoed quietly through the jungle. His big soft feet barely making a sound. He walked past the banana grove. Past the laughing branch where the monkeys slept curled up. Past the place where his trumpet had first squeaked. And then, he found something strange. A puddle. All alone, tucked in a quiet clearing. But it wasn't just any puddle. It shimmered in the moonlight. Glowing like liquid glass. It didn't ripple. It didn't splash. It just waited. Eli took a step closer. He looked into the water. And gasped. Because staring back at him was not just his reflection, but a memory. He saw himself. Smaller. Even smaller than now. A tiny baby elephant, barely old enough to walk. And beside him was a large, older elephant. With rough skin and a loud voice. Eli watched as the older elephant roared suddenly. A big, echoing trumpet. And in the memory, baby Eli flinched. He crouched low. His little eyes filled with fear. The scene rippled gently. And then faded. Eli's chest felt heavy. His ears drooped. I remember that, he whispered. That was the first time. I felt small. He didn't know the old elephant's name. Just that the roar had scared him. He hadn't understood why back then. But now, watching it in the puddle, he saw clearly. It wasn't just the frogs laughing yesterday. It was that old roar. Still echoing in his heart. He sat down beside the puddle. That's why I felt embarrassed. Because I thought. They were laughing like he roared. Loud. Mean. Big. He looked down at his reflection again. His own eyes looked back. Soft, wide, and thoughtful. But they weren't roaring, he said quietly. They were just teasing. It wasn't kind. But it wasn't the same. The puddle shimmered again. Another image appeared. Eli saw the frogs. Laughing by the watering hole. He saw himself walking away calmly. He watched himself say, "This hurts. But I don't have to shout to be strong." And when he watched himself say that, his reflection smiled. And Eli did too. I named the feeling, he whispered. Embarrassed. And now, I understand where it came from. Suddenly, the puddle began to ripple. Not from wind. Not from a falling leaf. But from inside. A soft golden light rose from the surface. Like the puddle itself was breathing out. The light floated gently into the sky. And Eli's heart felt lighter. It's like The feeling wanted to be seen. Not hidden. He stood slowly. The puddle was still now. Quiet again. Just water. But he could still feel the warmth of the memory. The understanding. He had found the root. He had named the feeling. And now, the swirl inside him was gone. As he turned to walk home, the fireflies began to gather. They flickered softly around him, like tiny stars come down from the sky. One landed on his trunk. It blinked 3 times, as if to say, "Well done." When Eli finally reached his moonleaf bed, Mama Elephant was already waiting. She had known he was gone. But she didn't scold him. She just pulled him close with her warm trunk and said, "You found the puddle, didn't you?" Eli looked up, surprised. "You knew about it?" Mama nodded slowly. "It only appears to those who are ready to look inside." Eli snuggled against her. "I saw a memory," he said. "From when I was very small. I didn't know it was still there. Hiding behind my feelings." Mama kissed his forehead. "Most of us don't," she said. "Until we're brave enough to ask the feelings where they come from." Eli closed his eyes. "It was a roar," he whispered. "A loud one. I think. I've been afraid of sounding small ever since." Mama held him tighter. "And now?" she asked gently. Eli smiled softly. "Now I know that soft isn't bad. It's just me." Mama's trunk curled around his back. "You named your feeling. And you found where it began. That's how we grow. That's how we become more than just our moments." Eli yawned. A deep, sleepy, gentle yawn. The stars twinkled overhead. And the jungle was still again. Except for one quiet puddle. Somewhere far away. Holding a memory that had already let go. The jungle was warm that morning. Not the kind of warm that made you sleepy. But the kind that made the air feel thick. Like the whole forest was waiting for something to happen. Eli the baby elephant woke slowly. He blinked his big, round eyes. Wiggled his toes. And lifted his soft gray ears to listen. No birds singing. No monkeys laughing. Just stillness. He murmured, curling his trunk gently. "Something feels funny today. Not funny like giggles. Funny like quiet thunder hiding behind the sky." He stood and began walking. Down the mossy path, past the fruit trees. Past the stream that whispered tiny songs. As he walked, he smelled something strange. Warm. Smoky. Like roasted mangoes with a flicker of fire. Then, through the trees, he saw a flicker of orange light. It wasn't fire exactly. It was feathers. Flaming feathers. Perched high on a steaming rock. Was a bird unlike any he had ever seen. Her feathers shimmered with deep reds and fiery oranges. Her tail glowed like burning coals. And her eyes sparkled like tiny volcanoes. She was the Volcano Bird. Eli stepped closer, slowly. His feet careful on the mossy ground. "Hello," he called softly. The Volcano Bird turned, fast and sharp. "Go away," she snapped, smoke puffing from her beak. Eli blinked. "I didn't mean to bother you." She flared her wings. "Everyone bothers me. Everyone talks over me. Everyone thinks I'm too much. I just want quiet. And peace. And to be left alone." Eli took a gentle step back. "Okay," he said. "If that's what you need, I'll go." The Volcano Bird huffed. "No, wait, I don't know what I want. Why do they never listen?" Steam curled around her feathers. Her tail sparked. No one ever hears me when I talk, she shouted suddenly. I try to share ideas and they laugh. I speak up and they interrupt. And when I stay quiet, they say I don't care. Her wings opened wide. So I hold it in. All of it. All the time. Her voice trembled. I hold it in because I think I'm supposed to be calm. Because if I say how I feel, they might think I'm angry. So I smile. And pretend. And act like nothing is wrong. Her breath came faster now. But I'm not okay. And I'm tired of pretending. Suddenly, boom. A fireball burst from her beak and soared into the sky. The trees trembled. Ash rained softly onto the leaves. Eli ducked behind a fern. His heart pounded. The volcano bird stood there, panting. Her feathers dimmed. Her wings drooped. She looked smaller now. Like all the fire had burned out. And left behind someone very tired. Eli peeked out gently. That looked like it hurt. The volcano bird didn't look at him. But she gave a tiny nod. It does. Every time. But I don't know what else to do. Eli stepped closer. Carefully. Kindly. Maybe, he said softly. You don't have to keep it all in. Maybe, you can let it out. A little at a time. The bird blinked. Her eyes were tired. Like how? Should I yell every time I'm upset? No, Eli said. Not yell. Maybe just talk. The volcano bird looked unsure. What if no one listens? Eli thought for a moment. Then he said. Sometimes, I hum my feelings. You hum them? Yeah. I don't always have the right words. But when I hum, it helps me let things go without shouting. She tilted her head. Eli closed his eyes. He took a breath. And began to hum. A low, quiet hum. Like a cloud holding a drop of rain. It wasn't a happy song. It wasn't a sad one. It was somewhere in between. A tune that said, I feel full, but I'm safe. The volcano bird listened. She didn't move. Then, slowly, she tried to. Her hum was rough at first. Crackly, like sticks snapping in a fire. But then it softened. It flowed. A warm, glowing sound. Like the sound lava might make. If it could sing without burning anything. Together, they hummed. The jungle seemed to exhale. The birds returned. The wind moved again. Even the trees stopped holding their breath. Eli opened his eyes. The volcano bird's feathers no longer smoked. Her wings rested. Her eyes shimmered with quiet. That felt better, she whispered. It's okay to be angry, Eli said. It just doesn't have to explode. The volcano bird looked at him. And for the first time that day, she smiled. Not a tight smile. Not the kind that hides pain. Not the one you use when someone's watching. It was a smile that started at the edges of her eyes. That spread gently to her beak. That warmed the air around her. It was a real one. Thank you, she said. My name is Mira. I'm Eli, he said softly. If you ever need someone to hum with, Mira said. Come find me. Eli nodded. I will. As he walked back home, the sky turned soft with twilight. The fireflies danced in the trees. And his heart felt warm. Not hot. Not heavy. Just warm in the kind of way that means you helped someone feel seen. That night, beneath the moon leaf, Eli told Mama Elephant everything. The smoke. The shouting. The fireball. The song. Mama listened without interrupting. When he finished, she said, "When feelings sit too long in the dark, they build. They boil. They burst." She kissed his forehead. "But when we speak gently and often, they don't have to roar." Eli yawned and snuggled close. "Myra's going to hum now," he whispered. "That's wonderful," Mama said. And high in the trees, beneath a sky full of stars, a soft, glowing note floated on the wind. A lullaby made of fire and forgiveness. The sky was soft and blue, with little clouds that looked like scoops of whipped cream. The jungle was full of giggles today. Not from Eli, but from two little birds, who were definitely not laughing together. Eli had been walking near the sunberry bushes when he heard it. "That's my feather." "No, it's mine. I saw it first." Two baby birds were hopping in circles around a long, shiny feather. It sparkled gold in the sunlight, and shimmered like treasure. One bird was bright blue, with a little tuft on her head. The other was yellow, with fluffy cheeks that puffed when she was upset. Right now, both birds looked very puffed. Eli stepped closer, his ears tilted gently. "Is everything okay?" Both birds pointed their wings at each other. "She's being selfish. She's being bossy." Eli blinked. "What happened?" The yellow bird huffed. "I found this feather floating through the air. It was coming toward me, so I reached out to catch it. But she swooped in and grabbed it first." "Because it was heading right into my nest," said the blue bird. "It's the same color as my wings. It was clearly meant for me." The feather lay on the ground between them. Neither one was touching it now. They just glared. Eli looked at the feather, then at the birds. Then he sat down. Quietly. Calmly. "Can I tell you what I see?" he asked. The birds nodded, still grumpy. "I see two birds who both love something beautiful. I see two birds who both want it, but don't want to hurt the other's feelings. So they're yelling. Because they're sad it turned into a fight." The birds looked at him, surprised. "I'm not sad," said the blue bird. "I'm mad." "Me too," said the yellow one. Eli smiled gently. "Sometimes, mad is just sadness in a louder coat." The yellow bird tilted her head. "What do you mean?" Eli paused, choosing his words like soft stones. "I mean, maybe you're mad because you think your feelings aren't being heard. And that hurts. So instead of crying, you shout." The blue bird looked at the yellow one. The yellow one looked back. Then both of them looked down. "I did really want the feather," the blue one whispered. "Me too," said the yellow one. "But I don't want to fight anymore." Eli leaned forward. "Would you like to hear what the other one feels? Not just the words, but the feelings underneath?" The birds hesitated, then nodded. Eli turned to the yellow one. "Tell her, in one sentence, how you felt when she took the feather." The yellow bird puffed out her cheeks, then softened. "I felt invisible," she said quietly. "Like I didn't matter." The blue bird blinked. Her wings dropped. "I didn't mean that," she said. Eli nodded. "Now you," he said to the blue bird. "One sentence." She swallowed. "I felt excited to have something beautiful, but scared that if I didn't grab it fast, I'd lose it." The yellow bird's feathers flattened gently. "I didn't know that." The two birds looked at each other. Then something unexpected happened. They both started giggling. "We're fighting over a feather," said the blue one. "A feather," said the yellow one. They laughed so hard they fell backward into a patch of soft moss. Eli smiled. "Sometimes, when we listen with our hearts, The storm goes quiet. The blue bird picked up the feather. She looked at the yellow bird. "Wanna keep it in the middle of our nests? Like, something we share?" The yellow bird nodded. "We can take turns fluffing it." They gently carried the feather between them, singing a little silly tune as they flew away together. Eli stood and stretched. The sunlight peeked through the trees. A breeze fluttered his ears. And in his chest was something new. Not just calm, but connection. He had helped 2 others feel better. Not by solving the problem, but by helping them see each other. That night, under the moon leaf, Eli told Mama Elephant all about the birds. They were yelling. Then they were sad. Then they were laughing. Mama smiled. Sometimes, the best gift we give isn't advice. It's the space to feel. Eli yawned. They listened. Really listened. And when they did, they laughed. "That's what empathy does," Mama said softly. "It turns hard moments into soft ones." The stars twinkled above. And somewhere nearby, in 2 nests right beside each other, a golden feather shimmered quietly in the moonlight. Shared. Peaceful. Loved. The jungle was bright that morning. Sunlight peeked between tall leaves, painting soft golden stripes on the ground. Birds sang from every branch. And even the bugs buzzed a little louder than usual. But Eli stood very still. In front of him, the jungle path had split into 3 different trails. One twisted left, under hanging vines and roots. One curved right, past glowing mushrooms and blue butterflies. And the last one led straight ahead, up toward a big, rocky hill. A hill so tall, its top was hidden by a silvery fog. Eli's big eyes blinked. He looked left. He looked right. Then up. He said aloud. "Which way do I go?" No answer. The trees just swayed gently. The vines didn't care. And the butterflies just fluttered past. Eli shuffled his feet. Maybe, the twisty path. No, no. What if I trip? He turned his head to the right. Maybe the glowing mushrooms. But what if it's dark? Or slippery? Or, what if I get lost? His trunk swayed nervously. He turned toward the rocky path again. It looked steeper than the others. A little scary. But something about it also looked important. There was a small wooden sign stuck in the dirt. Its letters were old and crooked, but still easy to read. "Maybe mountain, answers above, if you wait to see them." Answers? Eli whispered. That sounded like exactly what he needed. Because right now, his head was spinning with maybes. Maybe I should have brought a snack. Maybe I should go back. Maybe I'm already late. Maybe I'll pick the wrong way. His ears twitched. The more he tried to decide, the harder it became. He turned in a slow circle. Left. Right. Straight. Left. Right. Straight. His chest started to feel warm and tight. His tummy wobbled. It wasn't fear exactly. It wasn't sadness. It was, too much. "I don't know what to do," he said out loud. He plopped down on his bottom and stared at the sign. Why are there so many choices? Why can't someone just tell me the right one? Just then, a rustling sound behind him. Eli turned and saw a tortoise. A small one, with a smooth green shell, tiny wrinkled feet, and kind, shiny eyes. He wore a satchel made of bark, and walked as if time moved differently around him. "You look like someone stuck in a swirl," the tortoise said. "A swirl?" Eli asked. The tortoise smiled slowly. You know, when your brain spins faster than your feet can keep up. Eli blinked. Yes. That's exactly how I feel. He pointed to the 3 paths. How do I know which one is right? The tortoise didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned toward the rocky path. That, he said, is the mountain of maybes. And it only tells you the answer when you stop demanding one. Eli tilted his head. So, it's magic? The tortoise chuckled. Maybe. Maybe not. Depends how you listen. Eli sighed. But I want to decide now. I hate not knowing. Me too, said the tortoise gently. But rushing into decisions can lead you into places you weren't meant to go. Better to wait for the storm inside to settle. Eli looked down at his feet. He could feel it now. The storm. Not with lightning or thunder. But with questions that spun and buzzed. He didn't know which way to go. But even worse. He felt like he should know. How do I calm the storm? He asked. The tortoise smiled. You don't have to fix the storm. You just sit with it. It'll quiet on its own. And with that, he turned around 3 times in a slow circle. And sat down. So Eli did too. They sat together, side by side. At the fork in the path. Saying nothing. At first, Eli's thoughts were still buzzing. What if I wait too long? What if I'm wasting time? What if I miss something important? But the tortoise didn't seem worried. He just breathed in. And out. Slow. Calm. So Eli copied him. He breathed in. And out. Again. And again. And then. The thoughts started to soften. The what-ifs turned into maybe nots. The should I turned into maybe later. His chest felt cooler. His feet relaxed. Then. Something caught his eye. A butterfly. Not a big one. Just soft and golden, like a lemon drop with wings. It flew down the rocky path. Paused beside him. Then drifted upward, toward the fog above. And as it passed him, a warm feeling passed through Eli's heart. Like an answer that didn't come in words. But in peace. He stood. I want to go up, he said quietly. The tortoise opened one eye and smiled. And now you're choosing from calm, not panic. Eli smiled too. Thank you. See you again, said the tortoise, next time the maybes come knocking. Eli nodded and started up the mountain. The path was still rocky. Still steep. But the fog didn't scare him now. Because his mind was still. His feet were sure. And his heart was quiet. That night, under the moonleaf, Eli lay next to Mama Elephant, the stars blinking above them. I couldn't decide today, he said. But I didn't force it. I waited. And then, the answer felt gentle. Mama smiled. The best answers often do. How did you know? Eli asked. Because I've visited that mountain too, Mama said. Many times. Eli yawned. I think I'll remember it. The mountain of maybes. And the tortoise who didn't rush. Mama kissed his forehead. Stillness doesn't mean doing nothing, she said. It means doing the most important thing. Listening to yourself. Eli closed his eyes. And in his dream, a butterfly flew softly through a mountain mist, guiding him toward the path he already knew was right. The clouds were heavy that afternoon. Not stormy. Just soft and gray. Like the sky had pulled up a blanket and was thinking quietly. Eli the baby elephant walked alone along a mossy trail he hadn't followed before. His feet made the gentlest thuds on the ground. His big sparkling eyes looked tired, not from lack of sleep, but from a long day of feeling too many things. "I don't even know why I feel this way," he mumbled to himself. It had started that morning. He had tried to join a game of berry ball, but no one passed the ball to him. Later, he told a joke that no one laughed at. Even a butterfly had flitted past his head without noticing him. And somehow, that had stung more than he expected. Little things. Not big enough to cry about, but big enough to build something heavy in his chest. "I don't want to talk about it," he said. He walked farther, brushing past sleepy vines and thick ferns, until he noticed something odd. A tiny, narrow crack between two mossy boulders. It looked like the jungle had kept a little secret for him. And today, he had found it. Curious, Eli gently pushed through the vines and slipped between the stones. He expected it to be dark, but inside was light. Not bright light. Soft light. The kind that glowed through tiny holes in the ceiling like star specks. The floor was made of smooth, cool stone, and tiny purple flowers peeked between the cracks. The air smelled like rain. And in the middle of it all, curled up on a bed of leaves, was a fuzzy creature with giant floppy ears, and a face that looked like he had just woken up from the best nap in the world. The creature looked up, yawned, and blinked. "Oh. Hello." Eli froze. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "Shoo," said the creature, smiling. "No need to apologize. This room finds who it needs. I'm Snuffle." "I'm Eli," said the little elephant, stepping inside. Snuffle waved one fuzzy paw toward the moss beside him. "Come sit. The secret room is quieter when you're not talking too much." Eli gave a tiny smile and sat down. He felt it almost instantly. Stillness. The kind that wrapped around your shoulders like a warm blanket. The kind that didn't ask questions. It just let you breathe. Then, out of nowhere, a voice echoed softly from a corner of the room. "You're too slow. That's why no one picked you." Eli's whole body tensed. "What was that?" he asked quickly. Snuffle didn't even flinch. "That was an echo," he said. "A what?" Snuffle scratched behind one ear. "An old voice. A leftover comment. A memory with too many thorns. They hide in your heart. And when the room is still enough, they try to come out." Another voice floated from behind them. "They only laughed at your joke to be polite." Eli blinked hard. But no one did laugh. Snuffle raised an eyebrow. "Ah. So that voice wasn't even right. But you believed it for a second." Eli nodded. It sounded so real. Snuffle stretched out with a slow yawn. "Echoes always do. They sound like someone else. But they use words you already fear." Eli's eyes widened. "So, they're made for me?" Snuffle nodded gently. "Your own worries. Your own hurts. When you're quiet, they think they can trick you. But here's the secret." He leaned closer. "They only grow louder when you talk back." Just then, another whisper filled the air. "You're too soft. No one notices you." Eli's ears folded. He almost said, "That's not true." But he stopped. Instead, he just breathed in. And didn't reply. The echo faded. Eli looked at Snuffle. "I didn't answer it." "Exactly," said Snuffle, nodding. "Not everything deserves a reaction. But what if someone says something mean out loud? Not just in here." Eli tapped his chest. Snuffle smiled gently. "Sometimes silence is the bravest thing you can choose. Not because you're scared, but because you're choosing not to carry what isn't yours. They sat together in the hush. No more echoes came. Just the sound of a drip of water. And a soft wind through a tiny crack in the stone. Eli closed his eyes. And in that quiet, he felt something he hadn't all day. Peace. Not because the bad feelings were gone, but because he wasn't feeding them anymore. He opened his eyes. I think I get it now. Snuffle looked at him sideways. You'll forget sometimes. Eli giggled. I probably will. And then you'll come back, Snuffle said, stretching. Does the room always stay here? Snuffle shrugged. It disappears when it's not needed. But it remembers who listened. Eli stood slowly. Thank you, Snuffle. Snuffle didn't say anything. He just smiled. A quiet smile. Like a good secret. Eli squeezed back through the stones. The jungle outside felt different. Not quieter. But he was. The voices from earlier were still back there. In the room. In the past. But they no longer had his attention. That night, under the moon leaf, Eli lay curled beside Mama Elephant. I heard some mean things today, he said softly. From who? She asked. From my own mind. Mama didn't laugh. She just nodded. And what did you do? I let them speak. But I didn't answer. Mama kissed his forehead. That's called strength. Eli closed his eyes. The world was still noisy. But not inside him. And in his dream that night, he returned to the secret stone room. Not to hide. But to sit. And smile at the echoes. Without letting them echo back. The sky was turning blue-gray. That quiet kind of color that shows up right before the stars. The air smelled like damp bark and sleepy flowers. It was the kind of evening where the jungle wasn't sad. But it wasn't smiling either. Eli the baby elephant wandered along a small trail. His trunk swaying side to side like it was thinking. He wasn't in a hurry. He had no plans. He just liked walking when the day was almost done. The bugs were humming. The birds had stopped chirping. And the world felt gentle. Then he saw them. Or rather, he didn't see them. Usually, when dusk settled, the fireflies came out like magic. Tiny blinking lights. Like the jungle was putting on a sparkly coat. But tonight? Nothing. Just dozens of tiny glowing bugs. Sitting in silence. On leaves. Branches. And rocks. Not one of them blinking. Eli blinked for them. That's strange, he whispered. He tiptoed closer. Soft. Slow. Respectful. He'd never seen fireflies sitting still like that. It was like someone had told them to freeze, and they actually listened. Eli gently cleared his throat. Are you okay? A tiny groan came from the branch above. No. Another voice added. We're off duty. Eli tilted his head. Off duty? A plump little firefly dropped from a leaf and hovered in front of his face. Her light barely flickered. We're not glowing tonight. We're grumpy. Another one chimed in. Tired. Annoyed. Exhausted. And underappreciated, shouted one from the bark of a tree. A whole chorus of tiny sighs filled the air. Eli sat down carefully on a patch of moss. Do you want to talk about it? The firefly closest to him crossed her tiny arms. You wouldn't understand. Try me. She sighed. We glow and glow. Everyone loves it. They point and clap and chase us around. But they don't ask how we're doing. They don't even notice when we're too tired to blink. We're just lights to them. Eli's ears drooped slightly. That does sound hard. Another firefly added. Sometimes we don't want to shine. We just want to be. Eli nodded slowly. I think I've felt that way too. Like when everyone expects me to smile. But I just want to sit and not be noticed. The fireflies looked at him with surprise. You feel that way? All the time, Eli said softly. I think even stars need time to rest. The smallest firefly blinked once. That's kind of beautiful. They were quiet together for a while. Eli didn't try to cheer them up. He didn't tell them to stop feeling grumpy. He just sat with them. In the stillness. The clouds above shifted slowly. The wind played with the leaves. And somewhere in the distance, a frog hiccuped. Finally, one firefly buzzed a little closer. I want to feel better. But I also don't want someone to make me feel better. Eli smiled. I get that. Then what should we do? The firefly asked. Eli looked around. The mood in the clearing was like thick air. Not stormy, but too full. He thought for a second. Then whispered. Maybe, we can just wiggle the mood. Not change it. Just, shift it. How? Eli took a deep breath. He stood up on all fours. Lowered his trunk like a microphone. And said in his deepest, most serious voice. Ladies and gentlebugs. Tonight only. Presenting the world's softest trumpet. Then he let out a long, squeaky little peep. One of the fireflies giggled. Another snorted. A third tried to stay frowny but her cheeks puffed out. That was terrible, one firefly laughed. I know. Eli said proudly. He spun in a wobbly circle. Slipped on a mushroom. And flopped right onto his bottom. Thump. Ow, he whispered dramatically. A graceful ending. The fireflies burst into laughter. Not loud. Not wild. Just soft, golden laughter that shook out the grumpiness like dust from an old rug. And then. Blink. One firefly lit up. Then another. Then 6. Then 12. Then the whole clearing shimmered like someone had sprinkled stars across the ground. The bugs flew in slow, swirly patterns. They looped in and out of each other. Spelling shapes in the air. A few even circled Eli and made a tiny glowing heart. Eli laughed softly. You're glowing again. It wasn't forced, one of them said. It just happened. Sometimes, a little silliness is all the heart needs to remember joy, Eli said. The fireflies floated around him. Gentler now. But with a warm brightness that made the clearing feel alive again. They didn't sparkle because they had to. They sparkled because they wanted to. Eli stretched out on the moss. Watching the little lights swirl above him. One of the fireflies flew down to rest on his trunk. Thanks, Eli. For not trying to fix us. Just, being with us until the mood shifted. I didn't do much, Eli said sleepily. You did it yourselves. I just reminded you what laughter sounds like. That night, under the moon leaf. Eli curled beside Mama Elephant. The stars above were blinking in slow, sleepy patterns. Almost like fireflies too. I met some bugs tonight, Eli whispered. Did they teach you something? Mama asked. Eli murmured. That even grumpy moods can glow again. If you give them time. And a tiny trumpet. Mama smiled as she brushed a leaf from his back. You didn't fight their mood, she said. You danced around it. That's kindness with wings. Eli's eyes closed. And in his dream that night, the fireflies lifted him gently into the sky, spelling glowing shapes as they carried him higher. Not to fix anything. Just to fly. The rain had been falling since morning. Not crashing or storming. Just a soft, steady drizzle. Like the sky was quietly crying. The trees drooped. The birds were silent. And the puddles had grown so big. They were starting to look like sleepy ponds. Eli sat under a large fern leaf. His toes tucked under his belly. Watching the drops fall. Drip. 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 It had been raining so long that even the frogs weren't singing anymore. Eli sighed. Not a small sigh. A heavy one. Why do I feel like this? He whispered. His chest didn't hurt. His head didn't spin. There were no echoes or swirls or fluttering thoughts. Just gray. A big, soft gray feeling. Like he was wrapped in a blanket that wasn't too tight. But wouldn't let go. I don't even know what's wrong, he said quietly. He looked around. No friends. No games. No sparkle. Just rain. He hadn't eaten much that day. Didn't feel like it. He didn't want to play. Didn't want to talk. He just wanted to sit. And so he did. A long time passed. Maybe minutes. Maybe hours. The rain never changed. Then, out of the trees. A soft sound. Squish. Schlup. Schlup. Eli looked up. An old sloth was making his way slowly through the puddles. His fur heavy with water. His eyes sleepy but gentle. He stopped near Eli's fern and blinked slowly. Mind if I share the dry spot? The sloth asked. Sure, Eli said. The sloth settled beside him, moving like honey in winter. Neither spoke. They just listened to the rain. After a while, the sloth spoke. You're feeling the heavy kind of sadness, aren't you? Eli didn't answer at first. Then he nodded. Yes. But I don't know why. The sloth smiled softly. You don't always need to. Eli looked at him. But what if it never goes away? The sloth took a deep, slow breath. It will. But not because you chase it away. Sadness isn't a mistake. It's a visitor. A visitor? Eli asked. Said the sloth. It comes when your heart is full. But doesn't know what to do with everything it's holding. Eli's ears drooped. I don't like it. Most of us don't, said the sloth. But pushing sadness away only makes it come back louder later. They sat in silence again. The rain tapped gently on the fern above. Then the sloth said, Would you like to try something I do? When sadness visits me? Eli nodded. The sloth reached into a soggy pouch around his waist. And pulled out a small, flat rock. This is my rain rock, he said. Every time I feel a heavy feeling, I hold it and just let it be there. No fixing. No fighting. He handed the stone to Eli. It was cool and smooth. Eli held it in his trunk and looked at it. He didn't know what to say. So he didn't say anything. He just held the rock. And breathed. The sadness didn't go away. But it didn't get worse. It just sat beside him. Like a quiet cloud. And after a while, Eli whispered. I think I'm sad because I miss something. But I don't know what. The sloth nodded. That happens. Our hearts remember things before our minds do. Eli looked at the rock again. Is it okay to feel sad for no reason? It's more than okay, said the sloth. It's human. Or elephant. Or sloth. Or whoever you are. They both chuckled quietly. Then Eli said something he hadn't said all day. I'm sad. And the moment he said it, a tiny breath left his chest. Like letting the words out had made space for air to come in. He didn't feel cheerful. He didn't feel fixed. But he felt real. The sloth stood up slowly. "The rain's still falling," he said. "But you're standing in it now. That matters." He tucked the stone back into his pouch. "You're welcome to make your own rain rock someday," he added. Eli smiled softly. "Maybe I will." The sloth shuffled away, slow and steady. Eli sat a little longer. And when he was ready, he walked home in the rain. Not because it had stopped, but because he could carry the feeling now. That night, under his moon leaf, Eli curled close to Mama Elephant. "It rained all day," he said. "It does that sometimes," she replied. "I didn't do much. I didn't smile. But I told the truth to myself." Mama kissed the top of his head. "That's more than enough." The rain still tapped gently on the leaves above. And as Eli drifted off to sleep, he whispered to the quiet, "Hello, sadness. You can stay a while if you need to." And the sadness didn't answer. It just sat beside him. Peacefully. Respectfully. Because sometimes, that's all it wants. The jungle was hushed. Not from fear. Not from sleep. But from something else. Anticipation. The clearing near the old banyan tree had been swept clean. And tiny leaf lanterns hung between the branches like sleepy fireflies. In the center of it all, tied to a strong vine on the tallest branch, was a round bronze bell. The bell of the brave. Every young animal, at some point, would be called to ring it. But only when they had done something brave for themselves. Not to show off. Not for applause. But to face something that scared them. And move through it with heart. Tonight, it was Pip's turn. Pip was a young pangolin. Small and quiet. With gentle eyes and a habit of curling into a ball when things felt too big. And tonight, everything felt too big. Pip sat at the edge of the clearing, paws curled nervously under his tail. Eli, the baby elephant, sat beside him. He had come to watch. To support. To be there. Pip's scales trembled a little. "I don't think I can do it," he whispered. Eli looked over at him with calm, steady eyes. "Why not?" he asked gently. Pip didn't speak for a moment. Then, slowly. "Because everyone will be looking at me. And what I did, it doesn't feel brave enough." Eli tilted his head. "What did you do?" Pip's voice was so soft, Eli had to lean in to hear. "I spoke up in front of my class," he whispered. "Only a few words. But I've never done that before. I was shaking the whole time." Eli's ears lifted gently. "That sounds really brave to me." Pip shook his head. "But I didn't climb anything. Didn't run fast. Didn't save anyone." Eli's trunk curled softly. "What made your voice shake?" he asked. Pip thought for a moment. "I was afraid they'd laugh at me. That I'd mess up. That my voice would crack or I'd forget my words." Eli nodded. "And you did it anyway?" Pip gave a tiny nod. Eli smiled gently. "Then you were brave." "But it wasn't loud," Pip said. "I didn't even speak that much." Eli looked toward the bell. It swayed slightly in the breeze. "Bravery isn't always loud," he said. "Sometimes it's just true." Just then, Mama Elephant stepped forward and announced gently. "Pip the pangolin. The bell of the brave waits for you." Pip's eyes widened. He froze. "I can't," he whispered. "I don't want to go alone." Eli thought for a second. Then stood. "You don't have to." The animals in the clearing made space as the two friends stepped forward. A small pangolin with shaking paws. And a calm baby elephant walking beside him. Not to lead. Not to carry. But just to be there. As they reached the vine, Pip stopped. He looked up at the bell. It looked so big. So quiet. So watching. "I don't think I'm ready," he whispered. Eli leaned down. "That's okay. Bravery isn't about being ready. It's about stepping forward even when you're not." Pip looked at the bell again. Then at Eli. And then. He reached out one paw. And touched the vine. It swayed. And he let out a slow breath. Then, using both paws, he gently rang the bell. Ding. Not loud. Not bold. But warm. Like sunlight through a cloud. Like a whisper that meant something. The bell echoed once across the trees. And the whole clearing stayed silent. Not because they didn't hear it. But because they did. Eli stepped back as Pip stood there. His paws no longer shaking. The animals slowly bowed their heads in respect. No clapping. No cheering. Just quiet understanding. Because everyone knew. That was the sound of courage. Later, as the animals drifted away under the stars, Eli and Pip sat together at the edge of the clearing. Pip looked up at the moon. "That still doesn't feel real." "It is," Eli said. "It still doesn't feel like enough." Eli thought for a moment. Maybe bravery isn't about being enough. Maybe it's about being honest with what scares you. And choosing to move anyway. Pip curled his tail softly around his feet. "I'm glad you were with me. I'll always walk beside you," Eli said. "Even when you think you can't." That night, under the moon leaf, Eli told Mama Elephant what he had seen. Pip was scared. But he still rang the bell. And I think I was more proud of him than if I'd done it myself. Mama smiled. "That's because when we cheer for someone else's courage, our own heart grows too." Eli yawned. In his dream, he saw hundreds of quiet bells hanging from the trees. And each time one rang, a flower bloomed. Because courage, like flowers, doesn't shout. It grows quietly, softly, and strong. The air smelled different. Eli couldn't explain how exactly. Just that something had shifted. The wind moved slower that morning. It wasn't cold. But it had a coolness to it. Like a soft whisper brushing past your ears when no one is there. The birds weren't chirping quite as much. The sky had that in-between color. Not quite blue. Not yet gray. Just quiet. Eli walked along a path sprinkled with fallen leaves. They were different than usual. They curled gently at the edges. Their colors had changed. Not green. But golden, orange, rust red. Like little suns that had decided to rest. "It feels like the jungle is thinking," Eli whispered. He followed the trail toward the old whispering tree. A place he visited often. Especially when he needed to feel still. And there, under the roots, nestled into the earth like a warm memory, sat his friend Snuffle. The quiet creature with floppy ears and soft fur. The one who had once taught him how to listen to echoes without speaking back. Snuffle was holding something. A small pile of leaves. Neatly stacked. Each one beautiful in its own way. Eli approached slowly. Snuffle looked up. His eyes were kind. But Eli noticed they weren't as sleepy as usual. They were clear. Calm. But full. "Hi," Eli said softly. "Hello, little friend," Snuffle replied. They sat together for a long while without talking. The leaves around them rustled just a little. But mostly the jungle was still. Finally, Snuffle spoke. "The wind is changing," he said. Eli nodded. "I felt it." Snuffle looked at his little pile of leaves. "It's time for me to go." Eli blinked. "Go where?" Snuffle looked up toward the trees. "To the northern grove. It's colder there. Quieter. The trees are taller. And the stars show up earlier in the sky." "Why?" Eli asked, not quite understanding. "Because my heart says it's time for something new." Eli's chest tightened a little. "But I just found you." "I know," Snuffle said gently. "And I'll always be grateful that you did. But who will help me with the echoes now?" Eli whispered. Snuffle reached out and placed a gentle paw on Eli's trunk. "You will." Eli blinked again. "Me? You've already started, haven't you?" Snuffle said. "You sit with your feelings now. You breathe with others when they're heavy. You even help grumpy fireflies remember how to glow." Eli's eyes filled with tears. "But it still hurts." Snuffle nodded. "That's how you know it mattered." A long silence stretched between them. Not awkward. Just quiet. Snuffle picked up one of the leaves from his small pile. It was golden yellow, with red edges. A little tear on one side. Perfect in its own way. "This one is for you," he said. He held it out gently. "It's a goodbye leaf. Not because we forget. But because we carry it differently after we part." Eli took the leaf in his trunk. It felt soft and light. But something in his heart told him it would stay with him forever. "Will I ever see you again?" he asked, voice barely a whisper. The air smelled different. Eli couldn't explain how exactly. Just that something had shifted. The wind moved slower that morning. It wasn't cold. But it had a coolness to it. Like a soft whisper brushing past your ears when no one is there. The birds weren't chirping quite as much. The sky had that in-between color. Not quite blue. Not yet gray. Just quiet. Eli walked along a path sprinkled with fallen leaves. They were different than usual. They curled gently at the edges. Their colors had changed. Not green. But golden, orange, rust red. Like little suns that had decided to rest. "It feels like the jungle is thinking," Eli whispered. He followed the trail toward the old whispering tree. A place he visited often. Especially when he needed to feel still. And there, under the roots, nestled into the earth like a warm memory, sat his friend Snuffle. The quiet creature with floppy ears and soft fur. The one who had once taught him how to listen to echoes without speaking back. Snuffle was holding something. A small pile of leaves. Neatly stacked. Each one beautiful in its own way. Eli approached slowly. Snuffle looked up. His eyes were kind. But Eli noticed they weren't as sleepy as usual. They were clear. Calm. But full. "Hi," Eli said softly. "Hello, little friend," Snuffle replied. They sat together for a long while without talking. The leaves around them rustled just a little. But mostly the jungle was still. Finally, Snuffle spoke. "The wind is changing," he said. Eli nodded. "I felt it." Snuffle looked at his little pile of leaves. "It's time for me to go." Eli blinked. "Go where?" Snuffle looked up toward the trees. "To the northern grove. It's colder there. Quieter. The trees are taller. And the stars show up earlier in the sky." "Why?" Eli asked, not quite understanding. "Because my heart says it's time for something new." Eli's chest tightened a little. "But I just found you. I know, Snuffle said gently. And I'll always be grateful that you did. But who will help me with the echoes now? Eli whispered. Snuffle reached out and placed a gentle paw on Eli's trunk. You will. Eli blinked again. Me? You've already started, haven't you? Snuffle said. You sit with your feelings now. You breathe with others when they're heavy. You even help grumpy fireflies remember how to glow. Eli's eyes filled with tears. But it still hurts. Snuffle nodded. That's how you know it mattered. A long silence stretched between them. Not awkward. Just quiet. Snuffle picked up one of the leaves from his small pile. It was golden yellow, with red edges. A little tear on one side. Perfect in its own way. This one is for you, he said. He held it out gently. It's a goodbye leaf. Not because we forget. But because we carry it differently after we part. Eli took the leaf in his trunk. It felt soft and light. But something in his heart told him it would stay with him forever. Will I ever see you again? He asked, voice barely a whisper. The air smelled different. Eli couldn't explain how exactly. Just that something had shifted. The wind moved slower that morning. It wasn't cold. But it had a coolness to it. Like a soft whisper brushing past your ears when no one is there. The birds weren't chirping quite as much. The sky had that in-between color. Not quite blue. Not yet gray. Just quiet. Eli walked along a path sprinkled with fallen leaves. They were different than usual. They curled gently at the edges. Their colors had changed. Not green. But golden, orange, rust red. Like little suns that had decided to rest. It feels like the jungle is thinking, Eli whispered. He followed the trail toward the old whispering tree. A place he visited often. Especially when he needed to feel still. And there, under the roots. Nestled into the earth like a warm memory. Sat his friend Snuffle. The quiet creature with floppy ears and soft fur. The one who had once taught him how to listen to echoes without speaking back. Snuffle was holding something. A small pile of leaves. Neatly stacked. Each one beautiful in its own way. Eli approached slowly. Snuffle looked up. His eyes were kind. But Eli noticed they weren't as sleepy as usual. They were clear. Calm. But full. Hi, Eli said softly. Hello, little friend, Snuffle replied. They sat together for a long while without talking. The leaves around them rustled just a little. But mostly the jungle was still. Finally, Snuffle spoke. The wind is changing, he said. Eli nodded. I felt it. Snuffle looked at his little pile of leaves. It's time for me to go. Eli blinked. Go where? Snuffle looked up toward the trees. To the northern grove. It's colder there. Quieter. The trees are taller. And the stars show up earlier in the sky. Why? Eli asked, not quite understanding. Because my heart says it's time for something new. Eli's chest tightened a little. But I just found you. I know, Snuffle said gently. And I'll always be grateful that you did. But who will help me with the echoes now? Eli whispered. Snuffle reached out and placed a gentle paw on Eli's trunk. You will. Eli blinked again. Me? You've already started, haven't you? Snuffle said. You sit with your feelings now. You breathe with others when they're heavy. You even help grumpy fireflies remember how to glow. Eli's eyes filled with tears. But it still hurts. Snuffle nodded. That's how you know it mattered. A long silence stretched between them. Not awkward. Just quiet. Snuffle picked up one of the leaves from his small pile. It was golden yellow, with red edges. A little tear on one side. Perfect in its own way. "This one is for you," he said. He held it out gently. "It's a goodbye leaf. Not because we forget, but because we carry it differently after we part." Eli took the leaf in his trunk. It felt soft and light. But something in his heart told him it would stay with him forever. "Will I ever see you again?" he asked, voice barely a whisper. Snuffle gave a quiet smile. "Maybe. Maybe not. But when the wind is still, and the trees are humming low, and you listen closely, you'll hear me." Eli leaned forward and hugged Snuffle. Not with words. Just warmth. Snuffle's arms wrapped around him, slow and sure. Neither of them said goodbye. They didn't need to. The leaves said it for them. When Eli walked back to his moonleaf that night, he didn't cry loudly. He didn't stomp. He simply held the leaf. And when Mama Elephant curled beside him, she asked, "Did you visit the whispering tree today?" Eli nodded. "Snuffle's leaving. To the northern grove." Mama didn't rush to say it would be okay. She just placed her trunk gently across his back and said, "Some goodbyes stay with us a long time. And that's okay. It just means the love was deep." Eli clutched the goodbye leaf against his chest. "It hurts, but I think it's a kind of hurt." Mama smiled softly. "That's what it feels like when something was real." That night, the wind rustled the trees above them. Not loud. Not fast. Just soft and sure. And in his dream, Eli saw Snuffle again. Walking slowly through a grove of silver-blue trees. Leaving behind a trail of golden leaves. One of them drifted into Eli's trunk. And he held it gently. Not to hold on, but to carry it. With care. The jungle was in a silly mood that day. The birds were singing backwards. The vines hung like wiggly scribbles in the sky. And even the clouds looked like they were playing a guessing game. Eli the baby elephant felt it in his toes. "Something curious is coming," he whispered. His trunk bouncing with each step. He followed a trail of tiny blue flowers. Each one blooming just as he stepped past. They weren't leading in a straight line. They curled, they looped, they zigzagged. It felt like walking inside a puzzle. And then, through the branches, he saw it. A bridge. But not just any bridge. This one was painted in colors so bright they almost hummed. Sky blue, jungle green, mango yellow, and one plank that was glittery pink. At the very start stood a tall crooked sign made of driftwood and moss. In big painted letters it read, "Welcome to the Riddle Bridge. Cross only if you love questions more than answers. Please bring curiosity, giggles, and one clean trunk." Eli blinked. Then smiled wide. "This is my kind of bridge." He stepped forward. Squeak. The first plank made a funny honking noise. Ding. The second one lit up for just a moment, like it was proud of itself. The third one released a puff of glittery dust that landed in Eli's eyelashes. He giggled. "What is this place?" Then a voice rose up, low and scratchy, from beneath the fourth plank. "Ahem. Traveler of tiny toes, prepare your brain. To cross, you must answer a riddle plain." Eli stood very still. Then bowed politely. "Ready." The plank cleared its throat dramatically. "What can grow big without being seen? Be loud without making a sound? And change the way you walk through the world?" Eli's eyes widened. He sat down and thought. It's not a tree, not a banana. Then he smiled softly. "A feeling. The plank flashed gold. "Correct," it said, sounding impressed. "Proceed with honor, giggles, and care." Eli stepped forward, now more curious than ever. Every few planks brought a new challenge. One made him hop like a frog. Another sprayed him with bubblegum-scented mist. A sleepy-looking plank just asked, "What's your favorite sound when you're lonely?" To which Eli whispered, "The sound of Mama breathing while I fall asleep." The plank said nothing. But it glowed for a long, long time. Near the center of the bridge, things got weirder, in the best way. There was a tiny tea table balancing on one plank. Sitting at the table was a squirrel, wearing a vest. The squirrel tipped his tiny acorn hat. "Congratulations," he said. "You've reached the halfway tea." Eli giggled. "Is there actual tea?" "No," said the squirrel. "But there's a banana for later." He reached into his vest and pulled out a ribbon-wrapped banana. With a note attached. "To be enjoyed when you don't know what comes next." Eli tucked the banana behind his ear like a prize. "Thank you. Good luck with the last riddles," said the squirrel. "They're nonsense, but true." The final stretch of the bridge was lined with gentle fog. Eli could barely see the planks ahead. A voice rose up from below him. "Almost done, elephant friend. One final riddle before the end." Eli took a deep breath. "Let's hear it. What do you carry every day? Even when you forget it's there. It has no shape. But makes you whole. It has no voice. But tells your soul." Eli blinked. That was a big one. He sat down. Let the mist swirl around him. Let the question float. He thought about his morning. About his friend Pip. About the feeling feast. About his goodbye leaf. About every silly, soft, hard, wonderful thing he'd felt. Then, quietly, he answered. "Myself." The fog sparkled. Every plank glowed at once. The bridge itself seemed to sigh in joy. "You may cross," the voice whispered. Eli stepped onto the last plank. And onto the ground with soft moss beneath his feet. He turned back, but the bridge was already fading. Not disappearing. Just resting. Waiting for the next curious heart. That night, under his moonleaf, Eli snuggled beside Mama Elephant. Still glittery in places. "I crossed the Riddle Bridge today," he whispered. "Did you solve them all?" Mama asked. "Not at first," Eli said. "But I didn't rush. I just stayed curious." "And what was the last riddle?" Eli smiled sleepily. "What do you carry even when you forget it's there?" Mama smiled too. "That sounds like something worth remembering." Eli drifted off to sleep. The banana still tucked safely behind his ear. And in his dream, he walked a bridge made of questions and sparkles. And each step didn't tell him where he was going. Only reminded him. That wondering was its own kind of magic. The jungle was quiet. Not the kind of quiet that's empty. The kind of quiet that's full. Full of whispers, and stars, and remembering. Even the leaves moved slowly. As if the whole world was pausing to take a deep breath. Under his moonleaf, Eli sat. Still. Calm. Wide-eyed. He wasn't in a hurry. He didn't need to do anything special. He was just being. A small breeze brushed across his ears. The wind felt different tonight. Not cooler. Not warmer. Just softer. Eli looked up at the stars. Only a few were out. But they were blinking gently. Not to dazzle. Just to stay. He held something in his trunk. His golden goodbye leaf. And as he looked at it, his heart filled with all the memories of the days before. "I've been through a whole jungle," he whispered. And somehow, it's all inside me now. He closed his eyes. And in the quiet, the memories rose like fireflies. Softly, slowly, one by one, blossomed the softest trumpet. That first moment when his trumpet squeaked instead of roared. When he wanted to hide. But Mama had taught him to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe. And say gently, I feel shy. He didn't have to be louder. He just had to be honest. The laughing tree frogs. The day they teased him. He'd felt the swirls in his belly. The ones that made him want to snap or cry. But he remembered. Not all giggles mean harm. He paused. He didn't react. He walked away. With his feelings still inside him. Instead of throwing them out like a storm. The puddle that reflected feelings. He'd looked down and seen more than just his face. He'd seen sadness. Frustration. Loneliness. And he didn't push them away. He let them float. The volcano bird. The bird who shouted when her feelings exploded. He'd seen what happened when emotions didn't have space. He learned to breathe before bursting. To talk before trembling. The rain that didn't stop. A gray day. Heavy. Quiet. He didn't know why he was sad. And that was okay. He had learned from the old sloth that sadness didn't need fixing. It needed sitting. He held a rain rock in his trunk. And breathed. The feeling feast. He remembered the laughter. The sharing. The brave friends who brought their sad feelings to the same table as their silly ones. He learned feelings could sit beside each other. Without fighting. Without hiding. The bell of the brave. He remembered Pip's shaky paws. The moment of stillness. And the quiet truth. Courage doesn't roar. Sometimes, it whispers, I showed up anyway. Puzzle piece the Riddle Bridge. Bright planks, glowing puzzles, silly surprises. And the final question. What do you carry every day? Even when you forget it's there. And Eli had answered. Myself. And now. He was here. Sitting. No riddles. No tasks. Just peace. Eli opened his eyes. The jungle felt quieter, yes. But not because it had changed. Because he had. He could now tell when the swirls in his belly were growing. He could name his emotions. Shy, nervous, proud, excited, grumpy, tired, sad. He could pause. Breathe. Say nothing. Or say something honest. He had learned. To laugh when he needed light. To sit when he needed space. To whisper when his heart was loud. To hold on gently. And to let go gently too. He had learned. That feelings don't need to be erased. They need to be understood. Eli placed his golden leaf down beside him. Then touched his chest. The jungle is in me now, he said softly. The echoes. The stillness. The giggles. The goodbye. Even the bridge. He smiled. Not a big smile. A small, sleepy one. The kind that said, I've walked a long way. And I've brought all of it home. That night, Mama Elephant curled beside him. Her presence was quiet. But full. Like the moon that watched from above. Did you find what you were looking for? She asked. Eli leaned into her side. I didn't know I was looking for anything. But I think I found myself. Mama kissed his head. Then you found the best thing there is. The stars blinked above them. And in his dream, Eli didn't walk through the jungle anymore. He was the jungle. Every tree was a memory. Every breeze, a breath he had taken. Every vine, a feeling he had named and kept. The river hummed his thoughts. The animals spoke in whispers he understood. Because they were him. And as he stood at the center of that dream jungle, he felt no fear. No question. No need to be more than what he already was. I am growing, he whispered. And I am already enough. And with that, he curled deeper into the moonleaf. And slept. With the whole jungle gently breathing inside him. And now, the story grows still. Not a finish line, but a breath. Eli's journey wasn't about fixing every feeling, or always knowing what to do. It was about pausing. Not reacting right away. Breathing first. Naming what was true. He learned that even the swirls in his belly have something to say. And sometimes, you don't need to shout over them. You just need to listen. He learned that it's okay to cry. And okay to laugh. And okay to not know how you feel at all. He learned how to sit with sadness. How to shift with silliness. And how to carry feelings gently. Without letting them carry him away. And maybe you're learning too. That bravery can be quiet. That growth can be soft. That letting go can be love. If this story brought you a little peace, or helped you feel something kind and honest, we invite you to gently like the video. Share it with someone whose heart could use a soft place to land. And subscribe if you'd like to return to this calm corner again. Each share, each kind word, helps this story ripple into more hearts, who may be learning, just like Eli, to feel without fear. Thank you for being here, for feeling, for not rushing away. As you head back into your world, may you remember, you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You don't have to have all the answers to be wise. You just have to pause, breathe, and take the next gentle step. Not with force, but with care. You're not behind. You're not wrong. You're becoming. And the jungle? It's already in you. Always. Take good care. And keep going. Softly. Steadily. With heart.